The White Sox current state, pretty sad, but maybe not as sad as how the core of that 2021 AL Central Division winning team has rapidly declined.
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, I'm your host, Todd Welter, a lifelong Sox fan and the site expert at SouthsideShowdown.com, part of the Fansided Network. And also, I've covered Major League Baseball for outlets such as the Associated Press. And thanks for making Locked On White Sox your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Make sure to hit the like button on today's episode. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox if you've not done so already. And also follow or subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Well, Tim Anderson is attempting to revive his big league career with the Angels, and it got me thinking, man, it is so sad how far his career has fallen. But then I looked at how the rapid decline of the core of that whole entire 2021 AL Central winning team is, and I want to discuss just how sad that the entire core has declined. Then the Sox added another reliever on a minor league deal coming off an injury. Sox fans didn't like him either, but if James Karinchek returns to health, he could be this year's closer. And then finally, the Sox announced some sweet game day promotions that I want to discuss in the final segment. Super Bowl 59 is here, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. All right, so if you were to have gone back to 2021 and tell any Sox fan that Tim Anderson would be trying to revive his career with the Angels, Jose Abreu would actually be out of baseball, Eloy Jimenez's big league career would be hanging on by a thread, and Yoan Moncada is facing the same fate, you would have probably been greeted with a raised eyebrow. Probably been greeted with a rock eyebrow, like, what? That's not going to happen. You know, Lucas Giolito, Liam Hendricks would have blown out their arms. You'd have been like, no way. The future is ahead of us. Better days are here to come. Sure, the Sox got crushed in the ALDS by Houston, and it was tough to watch, but it was supposed to be the start of a championship run. 2022, 2023, those were supposed to be the years that the White Sox were going to win the World Series. And instead, everything has come undone for a variety of reasons, obviously, that has been well discussed on past shows and also well documented by other outlets. But it is sad, though, to see how the core of that competitive window has declined, and has declined so rapidly. And it just shows you how hard it is to sustain success. Heck, remember when Jeff Passan tweeted this in 2020? This is at Jeff Passan. For those that are obviously watching on YouTube, you can see it. But for those that are listening via the podcast, here's what Jeff Passan tweeted on January 2nd, 2020. The White Sox control players through the following years: Luis Robert Jr., Eloy Jimenez, Dylan Cease, and then he lives the year. So Luis Robert Jr., 2027, Eloy Jimenez, 2026, Dylan Cease, 2025, Tim Anderson, 2024, Michael Kopech, 2024, Lucas Giolito, 2023, Yoan Moncada, 2023, Yasmani Grandal, 2023, Dallas Keuchel, 2023, Madrigal, Vaughn, Dunning, at least 2026. And now all you have from that famous tweet is Luis Robert Jr. and Andrew Vaughn, and their days clearly numbered, as I've discussed on plenty of episodes. But at least Passan gave himself an out when he tweeted, right below it. And again, if you're on YouTube, you can see it. But if you're listening via podcast, this is what he put under it. The point, if everything falls right, this has a chance to be a sustained run for the White Sox. Of course, this is baseball, so not everything is going to. But the White Sox have put themselves in a very strong position, not just for 2020, but well beyond. But nothing did fall right after 2024. I mean, talk about a prophecy. Because that was like going into the 2020 season, even with the pandemic, you kind of felt like, all right, all the core pieces are here. We're ready to go. Good days are ahead. Those 100-loss seasons are behind us. The tanking is done. It's nothing but a bright days, especially with all the club control that they have. And holy moly, a lot of the guys that made up that core have not only just seen regression, they have seen their a major rapid decline, like where it's stunning, like where it's like that should just not happen. I mean, let's start with Tim Anderson. And I think MLB Trade Rumor sums it up pretty nicely in terms of his decline. This is what they wrote when Anderson signed with the Los Angeles Angels last week. Anderson, still just 31 years old, experienced a precipitous decline at the plate in 2023. After posting an outstanding 318, 347, 473 batting line in the 4 prior seasons, the former AL batting champ, two-time All-Star and Silver Slugger winner, posted an anemic 245, 286, 296 in a loss season with the White Sox. That prompted the Southsiders to decline what at one point looked like a no-brainer $14 million club option for the 2024 season. Anderson signed a 1-year, $5 million deal with the Marlins last winter, landing himself a starting job in hopes of a rebound campaign. Instead, his offense declined even further. In 65 games with 241 plate appearances with Miami, Anderson mustered only a 214, 237, 226 batting line, while striking out a career-worst 28.2% of his turns at the plate. Overall, he's taken 765 plate appearances since opening day 2023 and connected on just one homer with a composite 235, 271, 274 output. Given the suddenness and magnitude of Anderson's surprising decline, it's natural that he's limited to a minor league deal this winter. He was widely considered a bat-first shortstop in his final seasons with the White Sox anyhow, and his decline in the box now mirrors the decline on the field he'd experienced from 2020 to 2023. The other thing that this guy missed, though, which is just stunning about his decline, was he was being talked about being the next face of MLB. I mean, remember hashtag change the game? You know, he was part of that change the game movement. He was supposed to be the swagger. He was supposed to bring fun into baseball. You know, he was winning batting titles, making all-star teams. Hit one of the most famous home runs in franchise history, maybe in baseball. I know it's exaggerating, but it was a famous home run with that walk-off dinger in the Field of Dreams games. And now he's going to be lucky if he makes the Angels. I mean, he's no longer like, you know, the kicking the tires. They're giving him a shot, which makes sense. Can't hurt to give him a shot, but I mean, he is at the final, like, this is it for him. If he doesn't make it with the Angels, he's done. Now, injuries and some personal issues have contributed to his decline, but man, I mean, it has been really hard to see Tim Anderson just to the point where now he has to accept a minor league deal with an invite to camp. I mean, 3 years ago, that would have been unheard of. 3 years ago, you know, he was the face of the franchise. That's just how stunning his decline has been. And then Jose Abreu, the AL MVP of 2020, the franchise icon, summarily pushed out to make room for Andrew Vaughn at first. And now you got him playing winter ball, hoping someone gives him one more shot after his terrible 2024 season. You know, he was so bad with the Astros, he got demoted as far down as the Florida Complex League. And when he still couldn't hit upon his return, he was just flat out released. Now, in his case, maybe it can't be so sad because Father Time is a big reason for his decline, but still hard to see a legend at the end. It's always tough to see them, try to make one last grasp. One last, I can revive the glory days when it's like, it's pretty much over. And again, I'm not upset that the White Sox let Jose Abreu walk. I'm more upset that Andrew Vaughn wasn't capable of taking the torch and continuing on being great at such an iconic position. But think about it too, like the core of that team, Eloy Jimenez, he was supposed to be that cornerstone player for the Sox. He's supposed to be a cornerstone player for the Sox right now. Instead, he was always hurt, and he eventually got traded away for a pitcher that might not even be a reliever for the White Sox. I mean, think about it. A core player bringing back a minimal return. That's how sad that, it kind of has become. There's all these factors, but also the rapid descent of these careers. Now, in the case of Eloy, obviously didn't do a great job of taking care of himself. And then he stopped just putting the ball in the air one moment. And just still trying to get over this cold. Yesterday, I was not in good shape. As you can see, I'm on the rebound here. Anyways, Yoan Moncada, he's just being paid to go away after all his injury issues. Although, again, well speculated that he just did not take care of himself. But you look at, just even look at who is thriving on that 2021 team. I mean, it almost makes you think that they really did capture lightning in a bottle during those 2 seasons. That it was not set for sustained success like we all thought. That's what the autopsy is looking, because look at who's actually thriving from that championship team. And you can really point to Dylan Cease, and he gets traded to San Diego. Michael Kopech, traded to Los Angeles, and he was trending towards that sad ending until he switched agents to Scott Boras. And I'm fully convinced Scott Boras gave him a come to Jesus meeting saying, look, if you even want to be in the big leagues, listen to your pitch plan. Stop trying to throw the ball as hard as you can. Throw your secondary pitches a little bit more often. And look what happens. Thriving. Also, probably helped that he did leave the White Sox. Ronaldo Lopez, he's also doing well for himself too. But otherwise, there's nobody else really thriving. Lance Lynn, his career's hanging on by a thread. I don't even think he's been signed, although again, father time. But Liam Hendricks' elbow finally gave out. He needed Tommy John surgery, and it was sad to see that because he battles back from cancer just to even get back on the mound, and then that partially torn elbow ligament just finally gave out. But Lucas Giolito, his arm gives out. And, also things were not going well for him once they had that, crackdown on spider tack. But why am I going down this road? Well, it's a good reason to have, again, guarded optimism. I'm not telling you not to be optimistic because we do need to have hope. And it'd be a miserable fan base to just keep being like, sell the team, Jerry. This team's terrible. I can't believe they're not spending any money. Then that's complete apathy. And if you want to be in the apathetic state, fine. But I would also say, not be like, rah, rah, rah. They've got all these top 100 prospects because we've seen it's very hard to sustain success, even for a very brief period of time. And I don't want to put the hex on all these young prospects, but what we need to really be hoping that the White Sox continue to do is continue to string good drafts and international free agent signings along with player development that allows this franchise to keep rolling along. Because you are going to get performance decline from core players. One of the other problems that the Sox had was a lot of these core players were on the older side of being prospects. So when they came up, you only had a limited window of their prime performance years. So the other thing is, too, you just never had that other wave of good to great prospects to come up behind the previous core to keep the Sox out of being this terrible position that they're in. There was never that extra wave of prospects to either leverage, to trade for players that put you over the top, or to replace them. That's why this team is looking at another 100-loss season. So what you have to want to look for, what you want to root for, what you want to hope for is continued good drafts, continued good international free agent signings, and continued, good player development. That's what needs to happen. And then smart free agent signing with the limited money that Jerry will give Chris Getz. Don't invest so many dollars into the bullpen. Invest it in, say, positions or a starting rotation. That's what needs to happen. But still, man, it's hard to see Tim Anderson's career end if he can't make the Angels camp. Well, somewhere related to 2021, James Karinchek, he became a Sox villain when he nailed Jose Abreu in the face with a pitch. Well, now he might be the team's closer as he signed a minor league deal with an invite to camp. And let's discuss what he can bring to the table next on Locked On White Sox. Super Bowl 59 is here. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with the FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action with live betting all game long. You can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that's icing on the cake. Download the app and head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, the official partner of Super Bowl 59. Welcome back to Locked On White Sox. I'm your host, Todd Welter. Again, make sure to hit the like button on today's episode. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox if you've not done so already. And if you can't catch the show on YouTube, Locked On White Sox is available on all major podcast platforms, so make sure to follow or subscribe on places such as Apple or Spotify. Either way, get your 30-minute fix of Chicago White Sox baseball venting with me. And thank you for putting up with me as I battle through this cold. I feel like I've gotten the plague or something. Sorry for the sniffles there. It's just, it kind of gets in the I'm getting through it. I think I'm on the other end. Woke up yesterday and I'm like, oh, I would sound terrible. So that's why I'm back today. I'm here playing hurt. If you do listen though, wherever you get your podcast, feel free to leave a 5-star review. Even though I don't sound the greatest right now, you can even say, hey, he's here for me every day, or as much as he can if he's not sick. He's here to talk White Sox baseball to get me through these dark days. Well, the chain of events that caused the most famous Tony La Russa scooting his feet out of the dugout gif of 2021, you guys all remember that? Where that's the fastest I've ever seen a 78-year-old man run. My dad used to be in great shape. He never ran that fast. But remember that? Well, it was started by James Karinchek, who could now be the White Sox next closer. Over the weekend, the Sox signed him to a minor league deal with an invite to camp and add him to the list of buying very, very low with the hope of selling high options that the Sox have in the bullpen. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I have no problem with getting as many of these guys off the scrap heap for the bullpen because, again, if you revive their career, you can trade them for prospects because the prospect pool or the prospect returns were very, very good at the last deadline. And especially with teams hoarding cash for the work stoppage in 2026, bullpen arms are a lot cheaper than trading for starters, even if it's just momentarily. And that's the other thing. For those that are saying, well, Karinchek, he's still young, let's build a team. No, you still need to collect assets. You should collect as many assets with their club control clock not even started for this rebuild. So that way you can do it nice and clean. And that way you can get another tweet from Jeff Passan. But as James Fox pointed out on the Future Sox podcast, the Sox are focusing on bringing relievers coming off shoulder injuries. I mean, they're definitely cornering the market on guys that have had shoulder injuries. And that should be a little concerning just because if the shoulder goes, then RIP to that career. It's really hard to come back from shoulder issues. RIP to Jim Parquet's career. That's just one, guy you can cite. Danks' career. John Danks was never the same after all those shoulder and rotator cuff problems. Elbow problems you can usually bounce back from. But a shoulder problem limited Karinchek to just 6 2/3 innings at AAA last season before he was even shut down. But before last season, he was throwing out of the Guardians bullpen from 2019 to 2023, a career 3.10 ERA and 165 2/3 innings pitched. His stuff misses bats with a career 36.3 K percentage. But he's also going to walk a lot of guys, too, with a career 14.1 walk percentage. And also, his statistics are just really anomalies when you look at, walk percentage, K percentage. But then when you look at BABIP, 228 BABIP in 2021, 220 in 2023. But yet his best ERA season came in 2022 with a 208 ERA. His BABIP was 270. So, he was getting a lot of help probably from the defense, but think about that. In his, I think he had ERAs in the 4 in 2021 and 2023. He wasn't really allowing the ball to be put in play, but obviously when it got in play, he was giving up home runs. 9 in 2021, 6 in 2023, just 2 in 2022. So it's just, he's all over the place. But if he's healthy and can win a bullpen spot, he does have 15 career saves, with 11 coming in 2021. He also has 11 career blown saves, with 5 coming in 2021 as well. But you think about it, right now, I think I saw that it's Justin Anderson that they're counting on. That's the name that I've been hearing being the closer. And that doesn't make me feel comfortable after seeing how many leads he kept blowing during middle innings. So Karinchek might be an upgrade. And I think, everybody's focusing on who's going to be the opening day starter for the White Sox. And I believe that does deserve a lot of attention, but it's just one day. I think what should get some close attention is who's going to be the closer. And yes, folks, I know there's going to be some cynicism. The cynicism is earned, but the Sox will have a lead going in the ninth inning. It might be rare, but they had leads even in 2024. Especially in the final innings. Remember, the Sox blew 37 saves last year. So, you will need a closer because not having an effective closer last year is a big, big reason why the Sox only won 41 games. And you know, they just, one thing a rock bottom team should be able to find is a closer. I mean, I've covered terrible teams in my days with the AP when I worked for the AP. I covered some awful Brewers teams, but you know what they were able to find? Closers. Derek Turnbow turned out to be an all-star closer. And in fact, a rock star. Jim Henderson, Corey Knebel. I mean, you could find closers. If the Brewers can find closers, if the Pirates can find closers, the White Sox should be able to find closers. And honestly, how do you find them? Well, they usually have 2 pitches, and they usually somehow either come off the scrap heap or they got to come off the free agent market. I mean, Bobby Jenks, does he ring a bell to everybody? He was basically off the scrap heap, but he had a great fastball that projected well, added a second pitch, and he became he became an iconic closer. So either you got to find him off the scrap heap or you got to pay for one. Because paying for one is the only acceptable major expenditure that I'll accept for a bullpen. But right now, the White Sox just are not at that point where they should be spending for a closer. One moment. And even though Karinchek's four-seamer only tops off at 94, his production shows he will miss bats. Although the shoulder problem had him, I believe I was reading reports that had him down to like 91. And go listen to the most recent Future Sox podcast, as James and Ian, both great guests on the show. They've discussed how there was also some speculation that once umpires started checking gloves, his spin rates were not as great. That was just a speculation going around, but still, if his shoulder is healed and he can hit 94 again on the gun to set up also with his curveball, he's got the ability to be a strikeout, type closer. But you're going to run the risk of base runners. But hey, Michael Kopech and Leon Hendricks kept putting guys on base. And in saves, hitters have a 167, 270, 204 slash line against them. High leverage, the slash line is 176, 282, 313. Although his best ERA in an inning comes in the 7th when it's 270, while in the 9th it's 324. But he's got a little bit more experience. Granted, it's only slightly, but he has a little bit more experience than Justin Anderson. But I have no problem if both of those two just battle it out. But the Sox will actually need a closer, and that's why Karinchek, he's got a little bit more experience, and by that I mean like 6 more saves than Justin Anderson. But I've got no problem with this signing. Give him a shot, and if it doesn't work out, well, you just cut him. That's it. And yes, I know he hit Jose Abreu in the face, but that was 3 years ago, and as I just talked about in the first segment, the decline has been so rapid that it's just time we move on. Well, the White Sox are pulling out all the stops to get you to come out to the rate this season, and I'll discuss why it actually might be worth buying a ticket this season, not for the baseball, but for the promotions. We'll discuss that next on Locked On White Sox. Welcome back to Locked On White Sox. I'm your host, Todd Welter. Again, shout out to all the everydayers. I appreciate your loyalty. Please hit the like button on today's episode. Recommend to your fellow Sox fans or baseball fans, friends, to subscribe to the YouTube channel at Locked On White Sox, wherever they get their podcasts, as this show is available on all major podcast platforms. Again, playing a little hurt. Still, I think I'm coming out on the cold, but as I keep talking, like the congestion builds up and that. So I'm sorry if I'm struggling. I will try to be better as I heal up. For those that want to be haters and leave me a 1-star review, well, go with God. But if you still like what I do, if you like that I've been challenging you, informing you, entertaining you, please leave a 5-star review, as I believe we're at the 4.5 rating. Let's get that rating up, please. Also, we're building a great community on the YouTube community. So please subscribe. Recommend to your fellow Sox fans or baseball fans, friends, to subscribe to the YouTube channel. As, hey, if anybody wants to say that they're still a Sox fan in this world, it's me. Okay, I'm still one of them. Still got this weird emotional attachment, just like I'm sure that if you're listening to. And if you want to see what it's like to how bad a team can be, I'm here to inform you. Well, the one thing, though, I will give the Sox credit this season so far is they realize this team, they're not going to be any good. So they're going to give you incentives to come to the ballpark. And that's actually a good thing, because I think the one thing that was missing last season was they didn't have a ton of great promotions in 2024. It was like, here's the campfire milkshake. And, that old school jersey that they had, or I believe, where everybody came out for. But otherwise, it wasn't like, hey, here's a bobblehead. A lot of that. I don't think it kind of lacked that. And instead of just being, hey, let's celebrate 2025, Sox are actually saying, here's some other stuff that's cool. So come on out to the park. And I do suggest it's kind of cool. I'm going to try to get to a couple of games just because a lot of stuff they're giving away seems pretty neat. No one's saying how long you have to stay. I'm not even going to suggest how long you have to stay. I would just suggest get some good food because, the rate has great food, and then determine how long you want to stay depending on who they're playing. Although it would be nice if they did roll out, concession prices kind of like the Orioles are doing. They've got a special menu for their fans, like where I think hot dogs are going to be $4, that type of stuff. It would be nice for the Sox to do that just be on Tuesday and having discounts for season ticket holders. But again, these promotions, much nicer than the Campfire Milkshake. And also nice touch by the Sox marketing guys to get the 108 guys to announce them in a commercial that they taped. But also, don't let the shiny things distract you from the bigger picture that, yes, this is a team still owned by a terrible owner who won't spend enough money to put the team over the top, that they actually have to have these promotions just to draw you in, because it would be nice to go to the ballpark because the team was good, not because, hey, I can get a bobblehead. But in terms of the highlights, this was, just some highlights from the press release. There's going to be a homage T-shirt featuring the 1914 Baseball World Tour shirt. That'll be available on May 24th. First 15,000 fans versus Texas. They're going to have a plush blanket giveaway. That's going to be on March 27th versus the Angels. 1907 replica jersey presented by Rush. That's going to be on March 29th versus the Angels. There's going to be a jersey hoodie presented by Rate on Saturday, April 12th versus Boston. And again, it'll be mostly for the first 15,000 fans, first 10,000 fans. But if nobody's really going to these games, I don't think you have to rush too fast. There's going to be a Dick Allen MVP bobblehead, although they don't have the cigarette from that famous picture. There's a varsity sweater that's pretty cool from the 1940s. That's going to be on May 10th against Miami. You got the 1993 division champs rope hat. That's going to be June 7th versus Kansas City. A 1959 Comiskey Park radio on Saturday, June 28th versus San Francisco. First 10,000 fans. That's pretty cool. Let's see what else. Mark Burley replica statue, July 12th versus Cleveland Guardians. First 15,000 fans over 21. Bill Veeck, depending on who's the announcer. But Bill Veeck bobblehead on Saturday, August 9th. You're going to get a 1980s sweater vest, kind of in the Bears thing, but it'll say Sox. That's on August 23rd versus Minnesota for the first 15,000 fans. A 1933 Babe Ruth Al Simmons figurine on Saturday, August 30th versus the Yankees, first 15,000 fans. Mark Burley replica statue also will be a giveaway. There's that. And they're also going to have a Charles Comiskey bobblehead presented by United on Sunday, May 25th. First 7,500 fans. You're going to have a Ray Durham bobblehead, a Louis Aparicio bobblehead, a Burley, Garland, Garcia, and Contreras bobblehead. That's going to be July 13th versus Cleveland. I think I got to get to that. Ozzie Guillen bobblehead and a Ken Griffey Jr. bobblehead. This is all on WhiteSox.com if you want to go up to that. But again, some pretty neat reasons for you to go to the ballpark. They're actually giving you stuff. Now, granted, you have to buy a ticket, and if you like, I don't want to give Jerry too many money, Game Time app. That's my suggestion. Great sponsor of the show. Well, anyway, that wraps up this edition of Locked On White Sox. Thank you for making Locked On White Sox your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB. Baseball guru Sully brings a daily blend of humor and baseball, keeping you updated on every rumor and story throughout the offseason. Find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. I'll be back tomorrow, and former host of this very show, Herb Lawrence, he's going to join me to talk about how long this rebuild is going to take. Feel free to leave comments about today's discussion regarding the sad decline of the core of the 2021 AL Central winning team, James Karinchek joining the team and possibly being the closer, and the Sox 2025 promotional giveaways actually being pretty cool. You can leave them at the episode page on YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, at Todd J. Dub or at Locked On Sox, or you can email me at lockedonwhitesox@gmail.com. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.